Hi YouTube, I hope you're doing well. I'm doing okay, not too bad. Not as sad as yesterday. Like I tell you, some days are worse than others, and if you all have been through multitudes of just craziness in your life because your path is different than a lot of people, then you get where I'm coming from. I don't really need to explain it to you, but I will take the time to talk to you about it, I was just thinking, I don't know if it's a Marilyn Manson song, or do you remember that song that went, more human than human, something like that, I don't know if it was off the same album as Personal Jesus, remember that? That he put out. But anyway, I was just thinking about how narcissists will, with their lack of emotions, push on you the fact that they're more human than you are and almost get you to buy it, like when you first meet them. And then, do you know, like I was trying to explain before, like, suggestive will. This is something like part of the not just hypnotizing, because I would bring hypnotists into the Masonic Lodge that I grew up in. So they would bring these hypnotists and psychologists, like some really high zoot names back in the day. And part of their suggestive willing, like, okay, here's an example of suggestive willing. Just say I have a pack of Mentos or whatever. I don't even like them, but I guess that'll be a good example. Say you didn't like Mentos, and I said, would you like a Mento? And you're like, no, I don't really care for them. And I'd be like, but it's going to make you feel better. I'm willing you to take this. And this is narcissism 101, by the way. And you'd be like, I really don't like them, but it's going to clear your throat, so you take one. That's when you're susceptible to their ways and their willpower instead of your own. Here, let me think of another example of suggestive willpower. Just a minute here. How many times have you been around? There's certain people that are so insisting on their way, and if you're around them, you have to adapt to that way to a certain extent, or it just won't. You won't be able to work within the same unit. It's not a unit, but it's a dysfunctional one, but there's no way you're going to be able to operate within that situation unless you bend a little bit to their will for you. It may not even have nothing to do with their lives for what I've seen them mess up their lives just to get at you. Isn't that crazy? And it's true. But don't forget that this suggestive willing, people do it. It is a craft. It used to be tricky and sneaky. It isn't anymore, but it is one of the dark arts, you know. There's also suggestive reasoning where they can put one of their thoughts out to you, even by an adverse manner, say, like, and that's reverse psychology, that I would say, well, I really don't like this person, but I actually do. But just to get you not to like the person, then in the meantime, you and this person become at each other's throats from my suggestive reasoning. I'm not saying that that's ever happened, but how susceptible is a person to another person's thoughts? I mean, if I were to foresee something and I tell somebody that this person's playing you, and what they're telling you is so off base, it's going to set you so far back that you missed your time to, like you were so busy gathering this information about the other team that you missed your chance to go up to the plate and bat. Do you see what I mean? You missed it because you were somewhere else. Well, that's lacking the Spirit of God within us. When we're able to be swayed by something outside of ourselves, be it another human being, what's going on in the world, all of it. That brings to mind this eclipse that's going to be going on. I'll give you my thoughts on that in a moment here. But yeah, it's a lot of fear stuff going on with all this, and if you have faith in God in all your life, everything and in anything, no matter how terrible, it always does work out for the best somehow. If you believe that, then, and that's a hard thing to do when you're living in less than ideal situations in your life, and I think a lot of you can relate to that. So just a minute, we'll talk about this eclipse. In ancient times, there were different places in the world where people thought that the eclipse was evil and they needed to go in their rooms and hide themselves. It's a clock in the sky that gives a timing to the people that run the world, and they probably know astrology better than a lot of people, maybe, with this clock, but also they only know what Satan's telling them because they don't have the actual, they've changed the timelines and the dates and the calendars so much, although they still correlate with the first initial thing that only one entity knows. They've literally, how do I word this? They have they're out of time. It's like musicians, and you got that one, just that one that their rhythm is off, you know. And they're so out of time, you can't make music with them. So maybe that's how, like, some of these artists like Frank Zappa and people that would use ill timing as a part of their skills, like see where, gee, that just does not fit, and put it in there anyway, like a force fit, like forcing a round or a square peg in a round hole type of thing, So these people would go inside and hide themselves from the eclipse. They would wash themselves and like smudge and incense their environment and clothing, and any food that was left out on the counter, like what was it, like a couple hours before and after the eclipse had to be thrown away. I mean, just things like that. I believe, like I told Doug, he said if I had a welder's helmet, I could go out and view this thing. Was going to be here at 2:18 on my time on the 8th. And I said, well, I'm going to do like I always do. I'm going to be talking to the Spirit of God while all this is going on, with that energy, communing with my Father at that moment on behalf of everybody. So that's what I'm personally going to be doing. So, and whether or not I see it or not, and I've seen them before, it doesn't really matter. It's just another day to me, you know. But I think this will give people an opportunity to become closer to God with that open doorway. It's like when the school bells out or rings and class is done and you can run out of the school and you're free. It's like, well, or like the principal is the smartest guy in the school and he just opened the door to his office and you're able to walk in there and talk to him. That to me is what certain solar and lunar days and events in our skies, those are the type of energies that can be used for good or bad on these days. And the people that know that take advantage of it. It's usually not for good things, you know. In church, you'll see these people like, oh, Sister Rose has a broken nose, and everybody's like, oh, we need to lay hands on her and heal her. Amen, brother. You know, and everybody's like, hallelujah, and all their, you know, whatever type of stuff. But so you'll have a group of people thinking on the same thing on Sister Rose's behalf. How many people do you know actually, in all reality, without being prompted, would think to wish and pray for the same things that you would? Like, you're willing something to happen within the world the same as everybody in the world on a certain time. Millions of people at one time. Uh, that could actually be the key to more peaceful world, possibly. You know, I was just thinking about that. You know, and Doug mentions it a lot. What if everybody at the same time was wishing for world peace? Well, that's always been my dream, you know. But when you have these people supporting our troops, you know, and the rest are shenanigans as a corporation and a war machine, it's never going to work. No matter what country you live in, if you support that and you're behind the elders in your society that have always done the same thing, it's always going to be the same thing. Nothing will ever change because of that. Now, as far as doom and gloom and the end of the world type of scenario, I don't see that this is the uh, great, what is it? Oh, like there's turmoil, but I'll think of it in a moment. Yeah. Tribulation. Yes, our world is tumultuous. The Great Tribulation, however, um, I don't see that happening till probably about 15 years from now is going to be about it. Um, these people are not more human than human. They're regressed, very regressed. And I believe when they have capabilities of supercomputing that is going to harm people and try and take over our bodies, like wired together like machines, like they hope to do more human than human. Another mutant. Like, okay, I was thinking this too. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage, and that implies too in ninjas because they're fighting turtles that can hibernate for 100 years and still be alive inside of their shell. So with them things put together, but being teenagers and warriors out in the public with a teenage mindset, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to go together. Do you know what I mean? It's like narcissists ruling the world. Look what we have. You know, they have a teenage mindset. It's not adult. Adults do not conduct themselves like that. Adults don't war. That's what being human is. Being able to control that need to retaliate. You know, there's other ways of doing everything. There really is. Me personally, the billions of dollars they use killing people, and they're going to put them in cages anyway, or use them, or slave them out, or whatever they're doing, isn't very nice anyway. But here's a scenario. So what if it was like, I'm just going to say Al Qaeda or whatever. So instead of going in there blasting away, whatever, you know, just, I mean, release gas in the whole city. That's going to put them to sleep and not really hurt anybody. Gas them. Gas like a whole apartment buildings. Even nobody's going to die. So, not nave gas, but, something peaceable. And then you can go in and just pick up the people that you want to put in cages, and that would be the end of that. Peaceful. When the police go to arrest somebody to take them into jail and prosecute them before a court, hopefully they're not going in blasting, just trying to take you out, take your life so they don't even have to deal with you. So that, like I say, I'm telling you what God expects out of us, not what your world leaders want you to participate in. I am telling you what we're not supposed to be participating in. So there's no excuses. None. You can't make any for another person or other people and how they think. Whether their family members have gone to war, or one of your family, or whoever it is. The people in my family that are and have done that, I still love them. But they're absolutely wrong in what they're doing in the eyes of God. I'm not talking about the world or mankind or your religious leaders. I'm talking what God expects out of us. Like border control in my country. We can help people at the border, and we would have money for what we give them when they make it in here. We would have money for taking care of the people that are out on the streets in our country. We really have enough to actually do that for everybody. In the world, we can help them right at the border. We don't have to let military age adult men that we don't even know what their background records are in this country and separating parents and children and the rest of the horror stories that's going on down there, you know. And I live down there. I know what goes on. So a lot of what you hear is not untrue, you know. It's untrue that those people that are coming across the border are infiltrating any of those border cities, because they're not. They're being taken elsewhere. Some people think they're being taken underground to work as slaves in the tunnel, or workers till they drop down there, till they age out, if you get my drift, like they do with children, you know. So, yeah. So that's my thoughts on the eclipses. This is just a time for us to, it's like God opening a door with the EMPs coming off the sun are always solar information to our souls. And the moon talks to us too with its movement. It's a way of frequency communication for everybody, for us and God and each other. It's a way to connect. That's what these big events are, and that's what they would try and freak people out, like their little CERNs, their colliders are going to interfere with you and God. Give me a effing break, for real, you know? Like they're lifting the veil. When that veil is completely lifted, you're going to know full well that Satan's already been trapped on this planet and nothing is being loosed. It's already here, and it's going to be put in its place, not in a human's place on this planet, but its own place, which is not here. These people that work in dark ways in the spiritual have no business, none whatsoever. If you hear a warmonger open its mouth, I don't care if it's pretending to be your religious leader, your parent, your child, I don't care who it is, somebody in your community. If they open a warring mouth, they're already in ill standing with our Father. End of story. Right there. It's ill intent that brought it's ill intent that brought sickness into mankind. It's their ill intent that keeps it alive. If enough people say no to all this, when you know it's wrong, you don't make excuses for it. That's the end of it right there. You can't. You have to stand strong to God. You're not out here to impress anybody else but God. And I'm not out here to talk to anybody else except for the people that accept that fact that we have a creator that we're supposed to honor for putting us in this opportunity to learn more than the average person. You know? You're not here to love the world. Love them that are in it, oh yeah, but not to become a part of all that is material, you know? So we have such a beautiful day here today. It's a beautiful spring day in the upper Midwest of the United States, right by the border of Canada, really close, pretty close. Look, if you look by Lake Superior and there's a point to it, points right to Pine City. It's like, and we're just a little bit away from there. So They say land of 10,000 lakes, but there is way more than that. There's so many rivers and waterfalls and lakes and creeks and ponds, and yeah, it's a beautiful place. It really is. Yeah, southern Minnesota. Now there are some hills down there. If you get around like the river, the Mississippi River Valley, and that starts in like the almost the very northern part of Minnesota. The Mississippi River starts from a spring in the ground and just turns into the beast that it is, winding its way down into the Gulf of Mexico. So from a spring in the ground into the ocean, it's, you know, the headwaters is in, it's called Itasca State Park. They've got some giant redwood trees there. They're just beautiful. Last time I was there, I've been there a couple times at least, but I took well, my son was just a baby, but he was looking up at them things, and my car was called a Pacer. They had like these round windows, almost looked like a fishbowl. Um, but he could look out of it and just see the whole sky and the canopy of the trees up there, and it's incredible. It's very beautiful. And you go a little west from there, and you have mountains. And that's what I was going to say about southern Minnesota. It does have some mountainous regions, but then when you start heading west, you're getting really close to South Dakota, and it turns almost like desert-like. Then it does have like a mountainous area going up into North Dakota, but there's a lot of plains area where the buffalo roam. I helped grow buffalo herds back onto the Great Plains when I was a young ranch hand. Some of the animals I fed were buffalo and beefalo. Oh, those things are beasts, and you don't pet them. I went to pet a bull's nose one time, and it snorted at me like spit snot all the way down my arm. And then I figured, well, it's really not a good idea. It would just piss them off, even just feeding them. Um, and when you saw like they were in uh, the structures they were in, they couldn't be out loose because they were breeding them, were cattle panels that were reinforced with rebar and steel posts into the ground, that even the fencing, they would beat themselves against it. There was like dents and marks from their hooves and stuff in steel that was like, some people don't know the gauges of steel, so, and I'll just go, like, the fencing was made out of stuff about that big around, and there was dents in that shit from their bodies, and it looked like some of them were going to come loose. And they can actually, if they can get a running jump, they can jump over 12 feet high, so it had to be extended like 18 feet high fences made out of reinforced steel and rebar, and like I say, metal posts into the ground, and just totally crazy. If you've ever cared for any large mammals, um, like horses and normal cattle and those types of things, it's way different. Way different. Yeah, you would hesitate walking in a enclosed area with a bull or a cow, but unless it's your milk cow, which I had one of those, and say I would feed her baby, and I would let her feed her baby in the morning, and I would milk her in the afternoon and feed her baby with supplement. And so I would get milk and so would the baby. And the cow would be taken care of too. So that's how you can ethically do something and not deprive the baby at all, you know. So, and she actually would be happy to get away from the baby when I milked her and gave her a break, literally, because she just didn't have to stand there for. It was different. It's different because it just is. If they didn't like it, and this is something a lot of people don't know. When you call your, like, say, a big farming um, milk farm, dairy farm, um, when they call their cows to come in, and I saw like a guy that would milk 40 cows, Holsteins, he called his girls to come in, and they'd all go into their stalls and line up by themselves to be milked. See, because he raised them as babies, you know, and that's, and they'd turn on music for them and fans, and it's like air conditioned in there. A lot of people don't know the love and care that goes into taking care of one dairy cattle. They just don't know. And what it's like versus somebody that's out on the range, out in the elements and that type of thing. Unless you've worked in that industry, you really can't speak on it, you know. You just can't because you don't know, you know. And there's a lot of people like, oh, only babies need milk. And well, I didn't get any when I was a baby. I was given away on the first day, but I do drink my milk, and guess what? Maybe you should too. Think about it, you know, because it's a real thing. Milk. Got milk? I like somebody's got a t-shirt. Got God. Oh, JP reacts. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to let you go. Appreciate you joining me. Have a really good night or day wherever you're at. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. And everything's going to be okay. Just put your thoughts in God's hands, and He'll help you with whatever you need, even if we don't like the answer, right? So, talk to you tomorrow.